you got to think bigger. We're going to talk about that every Monday at 2 p.m. Central. And we want to help you be bolder, which means you got to step out of your comfort zone so you can become the best version of you. I always want people to remember that you are unique, you're special, there's only one you. No matter what it is that you're doing in your life, nobody is going to do it exactly like you. So it is in our best interest to help you become the best version of you, blossom, and give you the support, the inspiration, the admiration, and anything else that you need. So please tune in, subscribe to the Jins Johnson YouTube channel, and that is with a G, and join us every week and invite your friends and family to do the same. So now I tell people all the time, I believe that we live in a world where there is a war between good and evil, and the only way evil wins is when good people like you and me and all of our loved ones, we just don't do enough. And I know we're doing so much, but I promise you we can do more. So every week we have a guest that comes on and shares their journey, their expertise, their wisdom, their knowledge, and a hope to impact you and so many others out there to be able to go out and fulfill your mission. So today is no different. We've got an incredible woman that is with us, Miss Cathy Kilpatrick. And, I'm just going to be honest because, first of all, you're going to fall in love with her. She's been on the show before as kind of like my little sidekick. But she's so much more than a sidekick. But she was running a little bit late, and we were kind of hoping that we would start and that you would just run in while we were starting the intro. Because I think
Like
that,
a rock star.
yeah, I think that would be so fun. But, you're here, you're in the flesh, and just tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what's your mission.
Oh, my mission. Oh my gosh. I do a counseling program that's called Splankna Therapy. Splankna means, it's an ancient Greek word, and it means compassion. It means guts, your bowels. What is the inside? If you ever had a gut reaction about something, that's your truth. You have fear because there's a reason to be fearful. But sometimes these things that we stuff in our guts stop us from being the best person that we can be, and like run in our lane of excellence.
Right.
Like
Okay.
you started
All right.
with.
We want to know about you because you've got a lot
Oh,
to tell. But
oh,
you said a couple things that I think are really important. Number one, and don't ask me all the specifics on this. Ziggy's really good. He'll probably look it up for us. But there is in your gut, you have nerves that are connected to your brain that really when there is something that is truthful, that's one reason why you do feel it in your gut. You feel it
right.
in your gut because it's your brain telling you this is true or beware or don't. Do you remember Danger Will Robinson? Do you know?
Yes.
Danger Will.
Danger, Will Robinson.
What was the name of that show?
Lost in Space.
Yeah, Lost in Space.
Highly unstable nature.
Right. And in my mind, that's what I think of, Cathy. I really do think of when your gut's telling you something and it's warning you about something. I really do.
Right.
In my
Right.
mind, I honestly do see Danger Will Robinson, Danger Will Robinson.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how what you do with your clients transforms their life. But let's talk about you first. I mean,
Okay.
tell everybody a little bit about who you are and how I don't want to say stumbled into this, but how you became acquainted with it.
Oh, okay, absolutely. So just to kind of go back a little bit, when you have that gut reaction, that is good. That keeps you safe. But when you continue to have that, when that's no longer needed, then you need to remove that. So I had a situation where we lost our middle child. He died when he was 6 years old, and our family was in tremendous grief. And a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine to this day, but years ago came to me and said, I think you're suffering from grief that's just incapacitating you. And I thought, well, I didn't know anything else. So my whole family was just in grief. And so she is and was at that time a Splankna practitioner. And so she worked me through the process. And then my grief was released. And she said, I think you would be really good at this.
Well, of course.
So here I am.
Well, number one, because you've experienced great loss and that grief. And listen, I had a really good friend of mine who lost a child in infancy. And I had another friend of mine who lost a child in infancy. And I'm not saying that a loss of a child or a loss of a loved one at any age is easier or harder. But I can't even imagine, you've got your son 6 years old, and that is one of, I would think, if you're a parent, that's probably one of your biggest fears. And let's face it,
it's the biggest nightmare for
we all
any
have
parent.
fears. We all have fears, and I would think
Absolutely.
that would be totally one of our biggest fears that we have. And so, understandably so, you were stricken with grief. But how long were you stricken with grief, and how was it manifesting itself into your life before you even realized what was going on?
Oh, I would say years. And you get, you're just angry, you're hurt, everything, your nerve endings are just attached to your fingers. Everything hurts you and offends you, and you don't even know it. But she was able to say, as I do now, and I look at people and say, I can help you with that. And they say, with what?
Right,
Because
They don't even realize it.
You're just incorporating it into your world, but it prevents you from running in the
Absolutely.
zone of excellence.
Well, exactly. It prevents you from being your fullest potential.
Right.
And that's why you can so clearly identify, I have no doubt, where you come across somebody and
Right.
let's just say it out loud. Let's just be honest, okay?
Yes.
Listen, if you are easily offended, there's something underlying that you're not dealing with. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Tell me, everybody knows this, but you'll meet someone, or maybe you know someone, and such a little small thing, they'll just explode over. And they, in their mind, honestly believe that it's this little teeny tiny little small thing that they're exploding about, that they're so upset and mad about. But in reality, it's not.
Right,
So
right.
that's one of the things I personally, when I'm dealing with people, or if one of my clients or one of my kids and somebody explodes, I always say, listen, that's not really what they're upset about. And that
Right, it's not the thing.
the quote, hurting people hurt other people. So you can easily identify that. And I'm sure that's why your friend who was a
Splankna,
oh, I can't even say it now. I just know it's really good.
like planks when you're
Okay.
doing planks in
Planks?
the gym.
Right.
Splankna.
So how many years was that? I'm really interested, from the time of you lost your son to the time you met this woman.
Probably 4 years,
Okay.
maybe. So there was plus we had relocated and lots of other traumas added on top of that.
Right.
But she was able to reach me from afar and say, let's chat about that.
And were you open to it at the beginning?
At first, I was like, what are you talking about? What do you want? What do you mean?
Yeah, it's like, what do you want from me?
What do you want from
What do
me?
you want?
If you were in my shoes, yeah.
Well, did she know your loss before she said, let's talk? Or could she just
No,
sense?
she knew. It was actually, she saw I posted something on Facebook for
Okay.
his birthday, and she thought that, if we keep doing these kind of things, we just torture ourselves.
Right. And okay, so let's get deep into that, because
Okay.
I love it that you said that. So talk to us about, what are some of the things that we do that we're torturing ourselves, reliving these traumatic incidences in our life. And what that does, and what does it look like?
Anything that is anxiety, depression, pain, physical pain, emotional pain, we do that. It's like we touch that fingernail or that tooth that bothers us. You have to keep reliving it and bringing it back up. And he was right and she was wrong. And if we could just let go of that piece. And it doesn't just affect me, it affects my spouse and my children and then their children. So you're not just affecting, myself. It's not a selfish thing. It's for the universe. It's for everybody to be healed and no longer keep going back to this place that's painful. And we do that all the time. We have to revisit that, cousin Harry said this, and remember that 20 years ago, and I will never speak to them again. And it's like, it's just unnecessary energy that you could be using changing the world.
Right.
And I want to tell the world about it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And one of the things that you said when we were just preparing, and one of the things I do with my guest is I say, what are some of the points you want to cover? And one of the points you wanted to cover, I mean, for me, obviously, because I believe in everything that you're saying, and you know that. I mean, that's just who I am at the core. And I know that we are our best healers. We are our best doctors. I mean, nobody knows us better than ourselves. That's how it should be. But to your point, things happen in our lives. I call it the beat down, whether it's an incident that beats you down, whether it's a person that beats you down. But before long, you start beating yourself down and you don't even realize it.
Right.
And so some of these symptoms, like we're discussing, where you're easily agitated, easily offended, short fused, when you say you just can't let go. I mean, listen, if something happened to you last week and you're upset about it, okay. If something happened to you 10 years ago and you're still upset about it, you need some help, okay? I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
And it just gets in the way.
I'm just saying, maybe somebody needs to tell you that, but,
Yes.
and even you have to release it. But here, we're doing this constantly to ourselves. We're beating ourselves up. We don't even realize we're doing it. And one of the points that you made is traditional therapy isn't always the best, most effective way to help people release this, because that's really what it is. When you get down to it, Cathy, it's really,
Right.
you have to release.
Right.
You got to release the pain. You got to release the fear. You got to release the anger. You got to release the guilt. You got to release these negative feelings and emotion and energy. You got to release it. So that's why, start to tell and explain what this is. Because to me, that's when the first time I heard about what you do. And then I started to watch a video, and then you even did some work on me. That's really what I love about it, is it's focusing on releasing, not just talking through, beating a dead horse to death 10 times, but it's releasing.
Right. I've had a client, and you have to go there. You have to speak it. You have to say, this is what happened. If we come up with something, because I've had clients that say, I can't say it. I can't speak it. And I knew exactly what it was. And this client, she went to this dark place, and I knew exactly, just in my gut, I said, she had an abortion. I know it. And she wouldn't even go there. She said, I can't. It's private. She wasn't ready to release it. But if we could change the world just by one person, because they've said, this was such a terrible thing, I'm so sorry for this.
Right.
You could change the world, and her whole family would be affected by that.
Right.
Because you do have to say it and speak it and acknowledge it and say, yes, honor the struggle. This was painful. It wasn't somebody did it because it was, a selfish reason. Trauma was in their life already, and then they added upon it. But they would get to this point and say, I don't know you well enough. Well, that's not about me, because most people look at me on the camera and go, I'm going to work with her because she's a real person. She's comfortable. I can work with her. So things like that are just absolutely crazy to me.
Well, listen, people don't want to say it out loud because they're ashamed of it.
Right. And there's so much shame and trauma from that.
Oh, right. I mean, listen, I always, being a faith-based person, I always think, listen, I've done some pretty crazy things in my life. I've done some pretty crazy things now. And I'm not proud of everything I've done, okay? I don't think anybody is. But I always think there's nothing that I can do, number one, that God doesn't already know about.
Right.
He knows. And the second thing is that people have done worse. And to your point, what you're saying is when we hold those things in, it's stopping us from becoming who we really are supposed to be. We have a video, don't we? I think we've got a video of.
I sent it to, yeah.
I think
Do you
we
have
may.
that?
Do we have that video? Oh no, we don't.
No.
Okay, no, we don't. Okay,
But that,
well,
but what you said, you really hit it. It's like if there's a situation, a trauma that has happened, and you squish it down, then that becomes shame, and that's bigger. And then you not doing your gifting and your calling on life is almost a bigger problem.
right, 100%.
So,
That's
right.
that's the most sad part of everything. I had a guest on a few months ago, Vincent Nelson, he wrote a book, and what he explained it like as those balls that are air, you put them in the water, you know what I'm talking about. Those, what are they called? They're just little beach balls basically, and they're filled with air.
And you pop it.
And you can put it and press it underwater. So all of the things that you're ashamed of, all of the things that you're scared of, all the things that you think, oh, makes you such a horrible person. Well, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. Okay. Once again, Cathy, say it with me. They don't. They don't make
don't.
you a horrible person. But what happens is we push them down, and the further we push them down, you can't hold it down there forever. And then the further it goes down, the further it's going to pop up and just explode in our lives.
That's where the energy comes from. That's where
Yes.
it's almost like fuel. The fuel
Oh,
behind
yeah.
the anger or the
Yes.
shame. So if you trigger into somebody's shame, then they can't function properly because they can't be good enough to do anything. And that passes to your spouse, your children.
Oh, listen, I'm telling you what, that's so true. But even, tell us some stories with the people that you've worked with. And, I love how you were saying this one woman was working with you and she just couldn't say it. But what are some other experiences that you've gone through with people?
Most people, once they get there and we identify what the issue is, they're willing to go there. They honestly say yes, because it's not talk therapy. It is, we muscle test to find out what the trauma is. And so it's great for men, especially, and teenagers and children who don't have the vocabulary to say, golly gee willikins, I think I'm suffering from being in trauma and I have some shame.
They can't. They just don't have the words
Nobody
for it.
does. But once you get there, they say, yes, absolutely. This one family came to me. He's a veteran and suffering from PTSD. And we worked with the whole family. And in my office, I have toys behind the couch. And the little boy, he's 3, he comes over and he says, Miss Cathy, my turn. Miss Cathy, 2 F's.
Right.
Miss Cathy, my turn. And the parents look at me and I said, you want me to muzzle test him?
Right.
We're
That's
all
so awesome.
And he says, my turn, and I came up with anger. I said, you're 3, you don't have anger. What is this? And I did some other testing, and it turned out to be Daddy's anger. Daddy's sitting right there. Mom is sitting right there. They both look at each other and say, he's trying to be a daddy, and he's walking around the house being angry.
Right.
It's not his anger.
Right.
So it changed not only this kid, and he went back to play
Oh,
behind the
gosh.
couch.
Well, you know for a fact, it's nature and nurture, and 50% is nature, 50% is nurture.
right,
And listen, we can be in some toxic environments, and we don't want to stay there. But to your point, as a child, you are in whatever environment you're in, and
And you catch it.
and you
You're not
do.
taught it. Yeah.
100%, you catch it.
Well, that transaction said more to the parents than it did to the kid. The kid went back to play.
Of course.
He was just a conduit for us to say, okay, what's going on in the household?
Right.
That would have taken 6 months of talk therapy, if not longer.
Exactly.
So people don't have that much time.
No, heck no, we don't.
And
I mean-
teenagers, my kids won't even, I got to send them to somebody else. So
So explain what a session with you
what a
is
session
like.
looks like. Okay, so a first session would be, a 50-minute hour, but what we start out with was we open in prayer, and they can ask for, I want to work on this or that, but usually through the muscle test, which we do right away, I apply the muscle test to the emotions, and I find out, is it fear, is it anger, whatever it is. So then we bring that up, and they usually resonate with it right away because it's something pretty deep.
Right, they know.
You can't make that up.
Right, they know.
There's so many stories. I need to write a book.
You have to, of course.
I think I need to write a book because you just wouldn't believe. I had one client. She went to traditional counseling, and there's nothing wrong with that, but she got discouraged because she's a young woman and she wanted to move on. She went there for 8 months, came to me in one session. I call it, she vomited,
Right.
Everything. She had been date raped with drugs.
Right.
And her family was saying, well, maybe, you did this or did that. No, it wasn't her fault.
Right.
And I had to pick out all these pieces and say, look, here's the picture. You did nothing wrong here. And the shame was lifted because it wasn't her shame.
Well, again, it goes back to releasing. And
Right.
I'm a big fan of therapy. I'm a big fan of growth. I'm a big fan of self-awareness and self-help and all of that stuff. And to your point, if you're not releasing the toxicity, if you're not releasing that negative energy,
Right.
you can go talk to somebody for a long time and you can pay a lot of money and you're going to still be basically in the same place. I mean, that's just,
Right.
It is what it is. So you've got sessions. I mean, do you find that for most people it takes, 2-3 sessions? Some people it's one, or is it just varies for every
It
person?
absolutely varies because especially the younger the person, the faster.
Oh, I would assume
Yeah,
so
so-
because they haven't carried the negative energy around
Right,
as long.
exactly. So I worked with this one young man, and he was just very confused. He's in a job situation. He walked out of the office, called me, and I met him halfway. He was at a different place, and I said, let's meet. One session, and in a couple of months, he was engaged. He had a new job. He was different. He went there. He was dark when he came to me, and he was lighter when he left.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Because when you release that negative energy, you are lighter. I mean, it's just,
Right.
this is what was so funny. I don't know if I told you this or not, but my husband, we were talking about energy one day, and this was years ago. We've been married for 13 years now, and he just did not believe it. I said, how can you not believe it? Energy. I mean, come on now. So I said, haven't you done the, let's put your hand up and then you go until you start to feel the energy? And
Yeah.
so it's like, I mean, I can feel your energy like from right here. I can
Yeah.
physically feel your energy. So, I mean, I had to go like this. I swear to you, we were like about this close. And he goes, oh yeah, I feel your energy.
He has to see it to believe it.
But once he felt the energy, then he started to realize. So when you're carrying around the guilt and the shame and this insecurity and the depression, the anxiety and all of this negative energy, it weighs you down like crazy, to your
Right.
point. It's one of the reasons why when you see somebody that is lighter, that doesn't have all that negative energy, you're more attractive to those people, or attracted to those people. There's an energy that goes along with that. I can only imagine. Now, are most of your sessions one-on-one, or like you said, you'll do a whole family? I mean,
Whole family, because sometimes they're all working together.
right.
Or they're not working together. And it's so exciting. I had sessions I did with one woman, and then she brought her mother in, and her mother's 83 years old, and they were working together because mama or grandma know the family folklore. We don't always know why we have this issue inside. So this woman, she's 83 years old, and she asked her daughter to step out because she wanted to talk to me privately about her deal and like why she had a situation. So minutes later, grandma's looking at the world. She said, it's like I'm seeing the world for the first time. 83 years old. She was holding the shame.
That's so awesome. Well, and you think about it. I mean, I don't know. I feel like our generation, so right underneath our parents, our generation we're just more open to all of these different ways of healing
Right.
and growing and helping make the world a better place. And we're just more aware. There's a lot more awareness
Absolutely.
than there was before. So one of the other topics you said you wanted to discuss was your subconscious catalog or subconscious cataloging. What does that mean?
That's the stuff you store.
Okay.
So you have something happens to you as a baby and you don't remember. That's why it's good to have mama come in, because she knows the family folklore.
Right.
I found out one woman came to me after I spoke once at one place, and she just waited for me patiently, and I said, "Did you want to talk to me?" And she said, "Yes, I want to make an appointment with you." And I said, "Why? What happened?" She goes, "Just last night my husband said she has anxiety and all this other stuff." Turns out I knew exactly when she said she has fear, anxiety, the whole 9 yards. And I said, it could be something from birth and you don't remember. She goes, "Well, I'm adopted." And I said, bingo.
Right, exactly.
So there's a lot of stuff that went on with mama. It turns out then she was a twin, and the twin dies, and then she's born into the canal, out of the canal rather.
Right.
So she witnessed this. And so she's very timid, very uncomfortable with people, very scared. And it's because she had this trauma. And if it was only because mom told her,
Right.
did she even know that? But we could have found that out.
Right.
But it was just so fast.
Well,
One session.
Well, and here's another thing too is, to your point, sometimes you don't have to know exactly what it is if you don't remember, because our mind
Right.
is an incredible thing.
Right.
And sometimes your mind will push something far back because it was so painful and traumatic for you
Right.
that you don't want to have to go through it again, but that energy of that experience is still there. So working with someone like yourself can release that, where when you feel better. I mean, believe
Right.
me, you're going to know. I mean, you're going to know when you feel better.
And your doctors have said, you're not your doctors, but doctors have said.
I'm sure
you're-
my doctor, Dr. Bailey, Dr. Lee, I'm sure you would say this.
Yes, I need to go talk to him.
Dr. Lee,
Your gut is another brain.
of course,
Another
yes.
heart.
Your gut is your second
Your heart
brain.
is another mind,
Right.
because you're storing this in here.
Yes.
And it's not productive. It's just, I have to get it out of the way because it was way too painful.
Well, and another thing too is, we talk about depression and we talk about anxiety, and listen, golly, you think about how many people are on antidepressants, and first and foremost, number one, anxiety and depression is a symptom. It is not a diagnosis. But what has happened over the last few decades is the pharmaceutical company has made it a diagnosis.
Yes.
So then, if somebody comes in and says, "I'm depressed," a physician doesn't have to dig any deeper to find out, well, gosh, what's causing that? They can just write you a prescription. It's the way that the world, believe me, that's what I did for many, many years. I was in healthcare. So the interesting thing, though, is, and I am mental health is one of my personal causes. Suicide is happening at an alarming rate. There's so many people out there that are suffering, and you're suffering alone. You don't have to suffer alone. You're not alone. Every single person, I mean, Cathy, don't you agree? Every single person has some time in their life, if not frequently, anxiety and depression and
Absolutely.
fear and self-doubt. And listen, it's normal, but you can improve it.
Absolutely.
So I wanted for you to talk briefly about anyone that you have helped release that, because I know there's so many people suffering out there, and I think sometimes people will think, oh gosh, well, if I wasn't date raped, if I didn't lose a child, or if I'm just dealing with normal life and I should be able to deal with normal life, and I just have a little bit of anxiety over here and there. No, you want to help everybody.
Well, if I didn't have to work for a living, I would like to have enough paying clients where I could spend the weekends going to places like go under the bridge and find out why people are living there and not productive members of society. What happened to them? It's not a judgment. It's what happened to you that now you can't be productive. why you can't take care of your family. What happened?
Right. Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't
'Cause
just
there's a story.
Right,
There's
there's
a
a story. I would love to be able to do that, and
Well, you know what?
have
Here,
the resources.
listen, and you can have my son, who is he's a film major right now, and I
Oh, we
always,
could do a
well,
movie.
that's what I always think
Yeah.
about. If you have a camera, and you just film this, because, listen, there's so much greatness within
Yeah.
each and every person that's sent here to this earth, and you feel you want to help. I mean, you want to
Absolutely.
help, which I will tell you, leads to our Ask Jins question. And that Ask Jins question is, something that, let's see, do y'all have that up? They've got it. Every week we do an Ask Jins question, and it either comes from my network, it comes from our guest network, and this one comes from Cathy's network, and it's, how can we reach 1 million people to change the world? And I know what she means is to change the world for good. And first and foremost, it starts with ourselves. Michael Jackson's song, The Man in the Mirror, it starts with us. We have to get our heads screwed on straight first, not perfectly, because it's not going to happen. And we have to realize that we each have a responsibility to make the world a better place. And I think it's one person at a time. We live in a world right now where the internet is incredible, and you've just got to share your journey in an authentic way and daily reach out and try to make the world a better place, one person at a time.
Exactly. And that's my dream, is if I could change, affect, just one person, and then another person, and then a family, and change 1 million people. Just maybe if it's with tapping. I know everyone's talked about tapping. They're doing it in schools now because of bullying. And I just absolutely love that they're doing it in schools. And I would love to teach that, do a Zoom program,
I think
and
this is an
teach people.
amazing idea.
Or get your son
Kathy.
to help me
Okay,
follow
so
me some weekend.
Now, and explain the tapping with people and how it's used in your therapy, and what does it help release?
Well, it's tapping that we do. It was developed by a chiropractor years ago, when he realized that tapping and eye movement also, which is EMDR, which is some of the things we do in our practice to release these traumas and these terror experiences, is really what a trauma is. And so if you can teach somebody how to do it, then, I can talk them off the cliff, so to speak.
Right.
I had one police chief talk to me about, can you come behind the yellow tape when we have an accident and do that? And I said, no, but but I will teach your people how to do this.
Right.
Because that was a little too,
Right.
when they stop throwing up and bleeding, then we'll talk about it. But he got it right away. Well, my guys come back from the field and they're traumatized. Not the victim, the first responders.
Exactly, the first
So I want to talk
responders.
to those guys. So I did. I talked to fire chiefs, police chiefs. What's going on here? How can I help your guys? Or my roofer came into my house, and so I was working on some PTSD education, and my roofer goes, "You know what PTSD is?" And I said, "You know what PTSD is?" He said, "My real job is I'm a fire chief." Oh, really?
Wow.
So I gave him some brochures, and I said, I'll come to your building. He said, all my guys come from the military, and they're now they're firefighters. And I said, let me guess, they have trouble staying married. And he just goes, how do you know this? I said, I just know this.
Right.
It's a trend.
Oh, sure.
So,
it is.
going to speak to them or any military group, this is available. It's so difficult to reach some of these people. I have great respect for the VA, but they don't have some of these techniques, and I would love to go there and teach them some of this.
Right. Well,
Once you teach it.
It's so, I mean, I don't know if this is the right word to use or not, but I'm going to use it anyway. It's just so new age. It's new, and it's not traditional Western medicine, but it works. I mean, oh my gosh, it works. I mean, hundreds and thousands, and I'm sure millions of people have been
Right.
impacted.
And it's truly God-based.
Right.
You know, it's God-based. It was always there, but I think New Age took it over, and we're taking it back.
Right,
It's,
exactly.
it's in the Bible. Splankna is an ancient Greek word, and the New Testament was written in ancient Greek, or
Right.
Greek at the time. They didn't think it was ancient. But
There you go.
yeah,
There you go.
it's exciting. I'd love to, talk to anybody who's interested in, and it's Splankna with an N, Ziggy.
I know. I saw that, and you
That's
know what?
okay.
It could have been me. It
It's
could have
okay.
been me. I'm going to take the blame for that.
It's okay. You'll have to have me back on your show.
Ziggy's like, it was you.
It was. So
I don't know. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
Listen, and I think one of the things I do every week is, I facilitate a mastermind. It's one of my most favorite services that I do because it truly does help transform people's lives. But every month we read a book, and the book that we were reading last month is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And we're about to start another amazing book. We're already in September, but I don't know about y'all, but I feel like I'm still in August. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. But so every week I share just a little nugget from the book that we're reading. And I know that you're going to so relate to this because I'm sure you've read this book as well. But, so the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey, there's 7, obviously. And what he goes to explain is the first 3 habits, which are habit number 1, be proactive. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. Habit number 3, put first things first. It's all teaching us how to become more independent. But then habit number 4 through 7, think win-win. Seek first to understand, then be understood, synergize, and then sharpen the saw. It's all talking about
Sharpen the saw.
interdependence. And interdependence is really our goal, and it's in life. And it is where we are going to have the most success. We're going to be the most fulfilled. We're going to experience the most happiness and joy, because interdependence means I'm independent, Cathy's independent, and we work together with our gifts and our talents, and together we make and create a third, more powerful mind. We create something that alone we could never create. But you can't have those interdependent relationships until you are independent and free yourself. And that's why I think what you're doing is so impactful, because it allows people to release and be free and become independent, so then they can have those fruitful relationships. And when people are not able to be happy in a marriage or be happy in a relationship, and they're not able to stick and keep friends or jobs, that's a symptom too. There's a reason for that, and there is help. So
Yes, there is.
I just thank you so much, Cathy, for coming
Thank
on
you.
the show.
Thank you for having me.
How can people reach you? And do you, I know we didn't discuss this, but is there any special offer that you can give to anybody that's watching the show, whether it's live or if they're watching the recording, and whether it's today, tomorrow, or 6 months from now?
For your whole life, if you do sessions with me or anybody in Splankna, you can go to www.splankna.com and look for a practitioner in your area. Your life will be changed. That's
There we go.
That's going to happen.
And
So if you want to be a client, that'd be great for you. I would love to work with one person and then families and then their kids and change 1 million people by trajectory. Just one little dot to change your life, and your whole trajectory of your life will change.
And that truly is how it works, it's how it works. And
Yeah.
I will say, for those of you who are tennis fans, are you a tennis fan?
I love tennis.
Did you watch any of the U.S.
I
Open?
played tennis in college.
Did you watch last night? Did you watch the men's finals?
I can't stay up that late.
Oh my gosh, it was incredible. It was amazing. And, one of the things I was thinking about when I was watching Rafael Nadal, who was amazing, and the Russian, I just call him Daniel the Russian because I can't pronounce his last name, but he was incredible too. But, one of the things that I thought was so interesting, and one of the reasons why I love sports and competitive athletics in general, is because they always credit their team. It's that you cannot succeed to high levels in any industry in life by yourself. And I will tell you, if you don't have someone on your team to help you with your mental health and to help you overcome and release the things that are bringing you down, you need one. And I highly recommend Cathy Kilpatrick for that. So again, thank you so much, Cathy.
Thank you.
Thank you, each and every one
you.
of you, for coming and spending a little bit of time with us. Please do share this, subscribe to the channel, and come back and see us next Monday at 2 p.m. Central. Until we meet again, be big, be bold, and most importantly, be you. Bye-bye.